My name is Matt Vaughn. This is my wife and I's coffee shop and sandwich shop. It's called The Boxcar. It's here in Moore, Oklahoma, which is where I was born and raised. Put everything we had into it, so we're really happy it turned out the way it did.
So how did you guys start?
Basically, the idea was, as a teacher and like raising two small kids and things like that, the idea was if we do multiple different things, multiple different ways to try to like just make ends meet or really just make a good life for our family and things like that, that's all well and good, but we were so stretched thin, we had no time to do anything else. And so we kind of came to this place where we said, what if we did one thing and we did it really well? So instead of doing 10 things, we did one thing really, really, really well. Would that be something that we could hang our hat on? Is that something that we could just learn the ins and outs of a new business and a new trade and things like that? And so really for us that started as like, hey, what if we opened a board game cafe? We had some friends that we really adore that opened one up in Guthrie, and they were successful with it and people responded really well to it, and we said, oh well, maybe we can do something like that. So we started going down that path, and then my wife said, well, hey, if we do that, I really want to have really good food. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense, you're a dietetics major. And I said, well, yeah, I'd really want to have really good coffee. I think it'd be really cool to do lattes, and I think it'd be really cool to do cortados and macchiatos and things like that. And so we kind of just went down that path, and soon the games became less and less and less, and we thought, well, we'll always have board games, but I really do want to focus on this food and this coffee and stuff as well. And so we started really trying to focus hard on the food and coffee, and that led us to basically this kind of mantra of we wanted to at least attempt to do everything with excellence. That was a huge deal for us. So we said, if we're going to have coffee, we want to have excellent coffee. If we're going to have food and ingredients, food with really good ingredients, we want to have excellent food with good ingredients. That was an important step for us to be able to kind of say out the door, if we can't do this with a high amount of excellence, then we don't want to do it at all. So that was kind of it. Basically go from a lot of things to kind of go to one thing. And then we kind of just continued down that path. It was funny, right before we opened, we sat down on one of the couches and I said, I think we accidentally opened a restaurant. Like, we didn't mean to do this at all. Like, this was not the original goal, to open a restaurant, but here we are in the restaurant business now. So it was like most small families who are trying to make ends meet. I mean, with the wife in college, she's doing school full time. And basically the idea was like, okay, I'm going to find a way to make ends meet as a teacher. And so I did that, and I ran a side business like most teachers, and I drove school buses, and I coached volleyball, and I did all these other things to kind of make ends meet. That was kind of the idea where we said, hey, listen, if we don't make any more money than we're making right now, but we don't have to do a million different things to get there, then it's going to be worth it. So
yeah,
that's how we got here.
So are you really passionate about coffee, or just what made the
I wasn't at
boxcar
first.
the
Man,
boxcar?
Yeah, I wasn't at first. It was kind of crazy. It really wasn't until I got involved in the coffee industry that I began to realize that it was full of passionate people who knew a crazy amount about their craft, which even in the coffee industry now, there's so much left to learn. I try to set a goal of being a lifelong learner, and so it's awesome to me to dive into something that I don't know much about, but I continue to learn about. It's been really fun for us to continue to learn about that. I wasn't passionate about coffee at all until I got involved with some of the partners that we partner with now, and I started to learn about the process of selecting specialty coffee, and I started to learn about the process of making specialty coffee and kind of continuing that craft. And it was a really fun endeavor to kind of dive into, and I've never met people that are more passionate and more knowledgeable about what they do than some of the people I've met in the coffee world. It's been really fun.
So what are your biggest passions in life?
I like to kind of categorize it as I have a passion to educate people. I have a passion to entertain people. I have a passion to live a life with meaning. And like I said earlier, to be a lifelong learner. I think that, when I was growing up, I had such bad ADD, and I had such a hard time learning for a really long time. And I didn't really have educators when I was young that told me that was okay. I had educators that said, hey, this is not, you need to focus. You need to learn to focus. You need to work really hard to focus in on this. And really, as I got older, I realized like I have a learning style that's really unique to me. It really wasn't until I got to high school and I had an English teacher who said, hey, it's okay to learn like you learn, and I'm going to tap into that, and I'm going to be kind of an advocate of how you learn. And so for me, that spurned a passion for learning. That was the first time I really thought I was capable of learning and processing knowledge and things like that. I never had any ideas about going to college or any ideas about what it would be like to pursue education or to pursue knowledge at all. I thought I was just destined to be this kid that had ADD the rest of his life, you know? And so when that was nurtured in me, and when someone actually showed that they could believe in who I was and who I had the potential to be, that's when I started pursuing knowledge. And so I decided to go to college and change my major a bunch of times. It seemed like every class I would go to, I would fall in love with that subject. I'd be like, oh, I love sociology now, or I love history now, or whatever it might have been. And I finally landed on English. And so I have a degree in English literature, and that was a huge passion for me. And I think it's because as a literature major, I have the door's kind of wide open to go learn about whatever you want to learn about. And so I have a great passion for learning, and then I have a big passion for educating as well, which is kind of taking everything that I've ingested and the things that I've read or the things that people have been kind enough to impart their wisdom on me, and kind of turn that around and give that to other people when it's asked for.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn not to give like unwarranted advice or unwarranted lessons and things like that. But yeah, I'm excited to I kind of take those passions as like the concrete that my feet are set in, and kind of build off of that.
Do you believe in mentors, or do you have any at all?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Mentors are important to me. I have a lot of mentors that are just people in my life that speak advice, and they have for years and years and years, and people that know me well. And I think there's a really, one of the biggest parts about the Boxcar, we wanted to really commit to being in the community. We wanted to really commit to saying like, this doesn't belong to me, and this doesn't belong to just myself and my wife or the people that work here or the regulars or anything like that. Like, this belongs to everybody and more. Like this, we wanted this to be a place that that when you had friends come in from out of town, you told them, I got to take you to the Boxcar. That was a huge deal for us. We wanted people to buy into the community aspect of it. This kind of like, this land is your land, this land is my land kind of idea. But that idea that came from people that were willing to kind of speak into our life and be willing to kind of just say the hard things, and people that knew us really well and things like that, and people that we opened up our life to. So I think I have mentors in that sense that I can point to specifically and say, these people know me, these people, they know all the bad parts about me, they know all the good parts about me. But then I have mentors that I've never met in my entire life. I have mentors that, they're people that as a literature person, that I read poetry that's hundreds of years old, or I don't want to sound too like sophisticated. I'm not, I promise. But it's just I love the idea that I can open up a book that's 100 years old and draw on some wisdom. That actually plays a big role in what we do. Kind of our philosophy for the Boxcar. Kind of a phrase that we consistently say is historically appreciative and culturally relevant. We want to be historically appreciative. We want to know where we came from. We want to know who. This is kind of the way we say it. We want to know whose shoulders we're standing on. So if you come into the Boxcar, there might be some things that like look cool and modern and things like that, but there's also like a historical kind of part to it. So like there's historical photos of Moore on the walls. There's Boxcar wood on some of the countertops and stuff like that. That's because we want to know where we came from. We want to be able to look at the patrons of old days and say, it's because of you that we are able to even open this place. It's because of you we have the city of Moore, or we have a great town hall, or a great mayor, or whatever it might be. We want to stand on those shoulders of those people that have done great things before us. But it doesn't just stop there. We want to also look as far into the future as we can, and we want to say, who's going to stand on our shoulders? Who's going to take what we've opened here with the Boxcar and do something even bigger and even greater and even better than we could ever imagine? And so I think this is pretty cool. But I'm excited for what my kids are going to do, or what their friends in school are going to do for the city of Moore, because of things that we were able to do ourselves. So sorry, long answer. I have a lot of mentors, I think.
No, that's great. Where do you guys see yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years?
In the next 3 to 5 years, what I would love is I would love for the Boxcar to become that place that the people of Moore couldn't imagine their city without it. I think that there's several places here in the city of Moore that it's kind of like, I don't know what our city would look like if that didn't exist. And I think it'd be kind of cool if the Boxcar became one of those places, that it really did become this place where friends from out of town come in and they're like, I got to take you here. Even just simple daytime meetings. I think it'd be cool if in 4 years, there's a married couple who said we had our first date at the Boxcar. I think about these kind of stories because I think that that's what life really is. It's just this collection of the mundane that becomes the great, the collection of things that isolated incidents, maybe they don't look too flashy or sexy, but together they become this thing that is really great and really big, and I hope the Boxcar can be that. I hope that the people of Moore realize that we're here for them above all else, really. Our philosophy is that we really want to I don't know, we're just so people driven, like in our own personal life. That's not really lip service. Like almost every decision we make is based on like community, where we live, where we work, how we move, how we raise our kids, where they go to school. Like we make those decisions because of the community around us. That's not lip service. That's truth. I mean, it really work hard to do that. I think that there's something really important about that. Our philosophy really is that it's all about the guests that come in here. We don't just call them customers because they really are. They're more than that to me. They're guests. This is an extension of my home. That's why we have couches. That's why we have chairs, because we want people to come and sit and feel like they're like in the guest room at a house. We tell that plays itself out in the people we hire. One of the things we say in an interview process when we hire somebody to work here is we say, if someone comes to your house and they spill a drink, what's the first thing you're going to do? And it's like, you're not going to look at them and say, let me tell you where the towels are so you can go clean this up. Like, no, you're going to go get them a rag. You're going to clean it up for them. That's the kind of mindset we want to have here. Like, this is your house too, and you're inviting people in.
If you could give us one life hack, what would it be?
What you do is very important, and how you do it is also very important. But why you do it should be the most important part. It's important to do something well. It's important to know what you are. But it's most important to communicate to your potential customers or your guests why you do what you do. That's been the best life hack for me as a business owner, is to be able to communicate with, whether on social media or to communicate through people coming in and having conversations, why we do this. It's important to have interviews like this where I get to sit down and in a documented way say it really is about community. Mm-hmm. That's a huge deal for me. That's a business model for me to be able to sit down and do that. It's not lip service, it's a business model. It's a way to be able to say, like, this is it's crucial, in my opinion, to communicate, hey, we do this because of the community. If you can communicate your why, if you can get people to buy into why you do what you do, then what you do and how you do it just becomes second nature. It becomes of secondary importance, I should say. Because if people know why we do what we do and they buy into that and they begin to like us and love coming here and things like that, it's just a bonus that we have really good food. And it's just a bonus that we have really good coffee. And it's just a bonus that we have events and live music. Like, all those things become like oh, wait, you also do this? And so I work really hard to get people to buy into why we do what we do.
If you could give one piece of advice for those who want to start a business, but those who are afraid to start a business, what would you give?
I have to just to like a little background. Like, my wife and I were not wealthy. We are not wealthy. We didn't have rich uncles. Like, it really just was find a way to do it. I think that if you really feel passionate about something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. And I mean that. Like, I think that we really got passionate about what we wanted to do for the community around us. And we just kind of said, what's the best way to do that? And we landed on a coffee shop. We worked really hard to find a way. That means when banks told us no, we didn't take that for an answer. I don't take no for an answer really well anyways. But like, when banks told us no, we didn't take no for an answer. When an investor shot us down, when a group of investors who could have fully funded everything that we wanted said, no, we don't believe that this is really going to work, it was motivation. It was like, okay, well, I'm just going to find a different way. Just because this maze that we're in ends at a blockade doesn't mean there's not an actual way out. And so we did that. But I think that where you don't want to, where you're not really passionate about making something work, then you'll find an excuse. And we could have really easily just rolled over and said, oh, well, banks told us no, or this investor group shot us down. And instead we used it as motivation to work really hard. And so I think that, coupled with doing something with excellence, is what kind of led us to this place. And like, maybe the jury's still out on the Boxcar. Like, maybe we haven't done things excellently. I really hope that we do. But maybe the jury's still out. I don't know. But that working really hard and finding a way to actually accomplish something and not making excuses and doing something with excellence, and kind of marrying those two ideas. That'd be my best piece of advice, is don't take no for an answer.
Well, thank you so much for
Absolutely,
this interview.
yeah.
It was
I really
so
appreciate it, guys.
amazing being here, and your coffee is amazing.
Awesome.